Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're going to continue with Kuf Mem Amud Bet 140b on the Mishnah towards the bottom of the page. The Mishnah says we're talking about Gorfim Lifne Apetam. So you're allowed to be Goref on Shabbat Afrurit from the Evus. You're allowed to take out this Afrurit, this like dirt from the Evos, from the trough in front of the Petam, in front of a shor, an ox that you're going to make him to fatten them up for shechita. So you're allowed to put inside of the evus teven v'seorim, right? You're allowed to put in like grains and barley, right? And it's not going to get mixed up a fruit, and then afterwards it's going to become disgusting and he's not going to eat it up. Remember that they used to try to give it a lot to eat and drink right before the shechita to fatten him up, and then it will be much easier to skin the animal and much better to do the shechita. Okay, and you're allowed to put the teven in front of the shore with tzadin, in order that he shouldn't come and start putting the excrement on top of it. Okay, Divra Rabbi Dosa, these are the words of Rabbi Dosa, Chachamim Osrim, Chachamim say it's asur. Next, Notnim Lifnei Be'ema Zo, Notnim Lifnei Be'ema Zo. So you're allowed to take from in front of one animal and place it in front of another animal. The Shabbat, on Shabbat, okay, and it's not tiltul, something which is not fitting. Why? Because since the be'ema is not katsa b'machal that was put in front of its friend, so therefore it's fitting for it, which means sometimes, or especially by human beings a lot, we don't like to eat from other people's leftovers. However, though an animal doesn't get disgusted by it, so for an animal it's still fitting, and therefore you're allowed to do that. Okay? Says the Gemara, Ibai Elahu. So they were going to ask the following question. So they were going to ask the following questions. Rabbanana Reisha Plige, or a Seifa Plige, or Tarvayu Plige. One more time. There was a Reisha and then there was a Seifa. The Reisha was Gorfin Milifnei Apetam, which means that you're going to come and you're allowed to take the solet, the refuse, away from the fattened ox that's eating from the trough, so you're allowed to take it away. And then there was a seifa. The seifa was also you're allowed to move it to the side because of the excrement. These are the words of Rabbi Dosa. Chachamim say it's asur. Chachamim say it's asur on what? Is going on both? On clearing the trough and moving the grain and everything on the side? Is it going only on the beginning part, clearing the trough? Or only on the end part on moving it on the side because the excrement are on both? So you've got three different options. That's the question of the Gemara. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Chachamim say, whether the afrurit, the afar, the dirt in the trough, or the teven in front of this, right, the grain in front of this animal, lo yisalkenu mitzadin. So it's mefurash on the Braita that the Chachamim argue on both dinim of Rabbi Dosa. When it says Chachamim osim on both cases, 2 for 1. So it says Amar Rav Chasta, machloket be'evush shel karka. However, though this entire machloket is only by the evus on top of the ground. Aval be'evus shel kli, but if it's talking about an evus, which is a utensil, which has a bottom part, meaning it's not much connected to the ground. It's a utensil. That is the trough. It's got a utensil. The other one is it's built into the ground. So the bottom part is the dirt, is the ground. Here, if it's going to be that it's a utensil, divra kol mutar, according to everybody, you're allowed to clean it out. That's what says Rav Chasta. So says the Gemara, is there anybody that actually permits an evush shel karka? So he says, Hakam mashve gumot. If it's the dirt floor underneath, you're being mashve gumot. You're leveling out the floor if you're going to come and you're going to take away the afrurit. But this is what it means. Says the machloket is in be'evush shel kli. But in evush shel karka, according to everybody, it's a sur. The exact opposite. You have to change it. If it's going to be on the ground, according to everybody, it's a sur. It's an utensil, that's going to be the machloket between Rabbi Dosa and Chachamim. So you're allowed to take seorim in front of the animal. Tana chada notlim lifnei be'ema shapia yafeh, v'notlim lifnei be'ema shapia ra. One Tana hold, you're allowed to take the barley in front of an animal that its mouth was good. So an animal that its mouth is bad. The Gemara is going to explain what does that mean, the mouth is good and mouth is bad by an animal. Another one says, you're allowed to take it from the bad animal to a good animal. So Amar Abaye says, right before the chamor, to put it in front of a shor, which means to put it in front of an ox instead of a donkey, right? It says you're allowed to do that. But from an ox to a donkey, you're not allowed to. Okay? The hadiktani, in that which we learned, the chamor does not have redim in its mouth, which means that it doesn't put like the saliva, right, onto the food before it actually eats it. And therefore the food does not become disgusting for the shor. And that's why it's called pia yafeh. We're talking about a para. Okay, para and the short is the both same thing. Just one's a male, one's a female. Para is a cow and the short is the ox. But just one's a male, one's a female. Because it does have redim, which means that it puts it on the food before, it's like it puts its saliva on the food before actually eating it, and therefore it becomes disgusting for other animals to eat it. That which we learned, a chamor is not medayek and it eats it, which means that's why it's piara, which means that even though a chamor even eats thorns and other things as well, it doesn't matter, right? We're talking about the para that it's taika ve'achla. Fine. Says the Mishnah. Hakash al gabe amita. When we're talking about kash, which is on top of the mitah, kash is like straw. Is the Mishnah. Kuf mem alef amud alef at the top, right? A kash straw, which is on top of the bed. Lo yananea biyado. You're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to move with your hands because it's like mukse. Ela miname gufo, but you do it with your body. So from here we learn mukse with your body, moving with your body is no problem. If it was going to be ma'achal bema, or sheyalav karo sadin, or you had a karo sadin. So for example, if it was designated for animal food, or it had a karo sadin on top of it, that means you're gonna lie down on it. So then it becomes your bed. And if you just took straw and you put it in your bed, that's for using it for firewood, for fire, things like that. It's not for eating, it's not for using for your bed. So it's still mukse. You put a pillow on top and sheets, that means no, now this is becoming your bed, it's gonna be permitted. Okay? Mechabesh shel ba'alei batim. Mechabesh shel ba'alei batim. Okay, matinim. They're going to be matil otam meshabav lo kovshim, but they don't press on it. Shel kovsin, and if it's going to be of a professional one, of the dry cleaners, lo yigabo, you're not allowed to touch it at all. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Miyam mutar merev Shabbat." If it was permitted, if it was open merev Shabbat, matilut kulo v'mshomto. You're allowed to just continue opening it in order to take out the clothing on erev Shabbat, right? On Shabbat itself, sorry. Okay, merev Shabbat matilut kulo on Shabbat. Okay. So says the Gemara on Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph. Amar Rav Nachman comes and he says, "Hay pugla." This snon is radishes that they took it out and afterwards they put it back into the ground. Milemala lemata, if the head of the snon is from up to down. Let's see if we have a picture here. Kuf Mem Aleph. Case number 1 is permitted, because it's up to down. Case number 2 is prohibited, down top. Okay? So milamala lamata is permitted, milamata lamala is prohibited. Amar Ravada Barava says Barava, Amri Berav, they said in the Academy of Rav, Tanina, we already learned to the Mishnah, not like Rav Nachman. Hakash al gabe amita, when we're talking about kash on top of the bed, lo yanea biyado, you're not allowed to move with your hand. But you're allowed to do it with your body. But if it was an animal's food or there was a pillow or a blanket on top of it, you're allowed to do it with the body. So we learn from here, moving it from the side is considered tiltul. Okay? So this is not like Rav Nachman. Because Rav Nachman was trying to say that there's no problem. Rav Nachman wanted to say that it's a sur tiltul minatzad. Here we're learning tiltul minatzad, it's permitted. So Rav Yehuda says, right, hani pilpele, these pilpelim, these peppers, you're allowed to cut it, right, one by one, with the kata de sakina, okay, with the back part of the knife. He says, shadi, tarte, but if it's going to be 2 of them, it's going to be prohibited. Okay, 2 in 1 shot is going to be prohibited. Rav says, no, since you're using the back of the knife, given the meshane, afilu tu v'nam even, you're going to do a lot of them in 1 shot, it's going to be permitted. Okay, another teaching of Yehuda. Amar Rav Yehuda, man desache b'maya, somebody that washes himself in the sea or in the river. First, right, dry yourself off from the water and then come up. Why? If not, you're going to be carrying 4 amot in the Carmelit. Now you're going to be carrying the water 4 amot in the Carmelit. So ask the Gemara, Yachiv so ki kanachi nami kadaki koach 400 vasi. He says when you're going into the water, you're also pushing the water 4 amot and it's going to be a sur. So it says the Gemara, no, kocho bekarmeli lo gazu. They didn't make a gezerah on his strength. Meaning when you go into the water and you're pushing the water with your body and you're moving the water for a mot, that's kocho. Kocho and karmeli, they never made a decree. But if you're traveling outside and now you're carrying all the water out with you, so now you're carrying the water for a mot. So Amar Abaye says, Itam Rav Yehuda says, right? Some people say it's Rav Yehuda. The teat, clay which is found on your shoes or on your legs, you're allowed to clean it on the ground, but you're not allowed to clean it on the wall. Okay? So says the Gemara, yeah, he comes and he says like this, Amar Rava, why are you not allowed to do with the kotel? Because it looks like you're building. And when you start putting clay on top of the wall, it looks like you're adding clay to the wall. Right? So it says the Gemara, Habinyan chaklahu. This is a binyan of a sadeh, not a binyan of a house. Right? So therefore, if it's going to be babait, it's only going to be Yisud Rabbanan. Elam Rava, but rather Rava says, you're allowed to do it on the wall, you're not allowed to do it on the ground. Because if you do it on the ground, you're going to be filling up the holes. If you do it on the wall, there's no problem. So Itmar Morbed de Ravina man. Morbed de Ravina said, whether we're talking about the wall or the ground, Asur. And Rav Papa says, whether it's the wall or the ground, it's going to be permitted. So you see from here, why? Because according to Rav Shimon, it's the Russian Mikaven, you don't have kavanah what you're doing. So according to Morbed de Ravina, how do you wash it? How do you clean it off then? Imagine you got clay on your feet, how are you going to take it off? So it says, you're allowed to take it off with a korah, with a piece of wood. Right? So it doesn't look like you're building anything. So Amar Rava says, person should not be by the lechi of a mavui. Maybe he's going to roll something in the Reshut Rabim to the tree and you're going to carry it. Amar Rava and Rava also said, you're not allowed to come and move a gigit, a barrel, on the ground. Because if you're moving a barrel, maybe you're going to fix the ground by leveling it up. So Amar Rav Kahana says, if you have teat, clay on your clothing, because you're allowed to come in from the inside, do like this. This case. Because kesomi bifnim. Okay? But not from the outside. On the outside, you can't do it, but you could go from the inside and you fold it and you do it like this from the inside. Okay? So we're going to ask a question. When you have teat, which is clay, which is on your shoe, you're allowed to take it off with the back of the knife. And if it's going to be on your clothing, you could take it with your nails. You shouldn't start rubbing it. He says, but if not, it's like milaben, you're whitening it. My love, klal is not you're not supposed to do it at all. So it says, no, you're not allowed to do it right on the outside, but you're allowed to do it on the inside. Okay? Sorry. Says you're allowed to come and scrape off the teat from a new shoe, but not an old shoe. Why? Because an old shoe, you're going to take off part of the skin as well, part of the ore, part of the leather, when we're going to take it off. And therefore, it's going to be a sur because of memachek. Okay? Kufbem alef amud be'et. But memeh got it all. So how are you going to peel it off? Amar Rabbi Yavu says, Rabbi Yavu begav shazakin, in the back part of the knife. So Amar Le'ahu Saba says an older person to Rabbi Yavu, Samedi dach mikameha. You have to take out your psak because of this. The Tanya Rabbi Chia was Rabbi Chia taught. You're not allowed to take off, not from a new shoe or an old shoe. You're not allowed to anoint your feet with oil. If the foot is inside of a shoe or inside of a sandal, but you could put it right on your feet, and then you could put your feet inside of a shoe or a sandal. You're allowed to come and put your entire body with oil, and then you could roll around on top of a place of ore, of the skins, and there's no suspicion. So basically, as long as you put it in your shoe and then after on your foot, and then afterwards you put it in the shoe, it's going to be permitted. You can't put it on the shoe. That's only if you want to come and you want to clean the shoes, the minal or the sandal. But if you're going to come to me'abed, you're going to process it.
Ten.
Tan it. Okay, it's tannery. So says the Gemara, labdo pshita, obviously. And furthermore, it's who's the one that's going to permit it? Everyone's going to say it's prohibited. So says the Gemara, this is what it means to say. Amar Rav Chasta says Rav Chasta, lo shanu ala shiul letzachtzich. If you're doing the mount, the size, in order to shine it. But if you're doing it the shiul, to tan it, to come and to process it, it's going to be a sur. A small minor cannot go out with a big shoe, because maybe the shoe is going to fall off, and then he's going to carry it in the Shut Rabim. But he's allowed to go out with a big chaluk, because we're not going to suspect that he's going to take off his clothing and go, bare or go without clothing in the public area. A woman cannot go out with a shoe which is torn because it's something which is a disgrace for her. So if they're going to come and they're going to laugh at her, she'll take it off. And she cannot do chalitza with it also, but if she did do chalitza, it's a kosher chalitza. Right? And you're not allowed to go with a new shoe on Shabbat. Which one did we say that you're not allowed to go with the Shabbat with a new shoe? With a minal of a woman. Right? Why? Because basically she's very makpidah that it has to be exactly the size of her shoe, of her foot. Therefore, if it's new, maybe she's going to take it off or whatever it is, and then it's going to be a problem. Tanya bar kapara. We learned, right, in the Karmi bar kapara. That's only if she didn't go out one moment before Shabbat, on Erev Shabbat, she's allowed to go with her on Shabbat. Tani Ichada, we learned in one writer, Shomtim minal ma'gabe emus, v'tani lachen shomtim. You're allowed to take off the minal from the emus, and the other one says you're not allowed to. Here it is. This is the emus. So one of them says you could take the shoe off of this thing, and the other one says that you can't. Okay, this is the shoe, which is on top of the mold or the form, I don't know how you want to call it. Okay? So it says, one of them says you're allowed to, one of them says you're not allowed to. So it says, that's not a question. One of them is Rabbi Eliezer, one of them is Rabbanan. Rabbi Eliezer said it's permitted, Rabbanan said no. The time was we went to Mishnah, Minal Shal Gabe Mus, Rabbi Eliezer Metaher, Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be Tahor. It's not Mekabel Tumah. Chachamim say it's going to be Mitamim. Basically, the question is that is the shoe considered a kli beforehand or not? So therefore, it's going to be Mekabel Tumah. Or as long as you didn't take it off, it's not. So therefore, that's what it's saying. So the one that says that you're permitted, they hold that it's like already that the whole like Chachamim that it's a kli, and therefore you're allowed to be metaltel on Shabbat. But Rabbi Eliezer, you're not allowed to. So Hani Chal Rava, this is good according to Rava Damar that he says the Vash Melachto leIsur, Kli Shemlachto leIsur, whether it's Tzor Gufo Tzor Mekomo is going to be permitted. But according to Abaye that he said Tzor Gufo is going to be permitted, Tzor Gufo Mekomo is going to be Asur. Michael Memo, what are you going to say here? Because even though the min'al which is on the tfus is a kli according to the rabbis, the tfus itself is Kli Shemlachto leIsur. So how are you allowed to move it? So it says, it's very weak, it's very loose. So since it's loose, you could just move it and just take it off. You don't have to actually move this mold. The time we learned in the Braita, Yehuda says, if it was actually going to be rafui, it's going to be permitted. Ta'ama, the reasoning why is because it's rafui, because it's loose. Halo rafui lo, but if it's not loose, it's going to be prohibited. So hani chalabai, this is good according to Abaye that he says, whether it's Tzor Gufo is mutar, Tzor Mekomo is asur, then it's going to be okay. But according to Rava that he says Tzor Gufo is mutar and Tzor Mekomo is mutar, what are you talking about, Rafui? Right? So it says, even if it's not Rafui, it's going to be also permitted. So it says the Gemara, he did Rav Yehuda Meshum Rabbi Eliezer, that's going according to Shtat Rabbi Eliezer that he says it's asur. Remember, Kli Shemlachto leIsur is any utensil which is used to do an isur. Tzor Gufo means I'm using the actual utensil for something, and Tzor Mekomo is I'm using the space. Okay, so that's what we're saying. The Tanya we learned in a Braita, it's going to be permitted. We finished the chapter of Tolin. We're going to start the next perek. Okay, chapter 21. 22. No, what is this? 21. Right, chapter 21. Okay. So again, we're going back to Muktzeh. Okay, now here it's going to be very interesting because we're going to speak about different types of mukse. So it says a person could take his child even though the child has a stone in his hand, right? And the stone is obviously mukse. You could take a basket and inside you have a stone. You're allowed to carry trumat me'ah, which you're not allowed to use. You have to burn it with trumat teorah or with chulin, with mundane food, with regular food. Rabbi Yehuda says, you could even come and annul the meduma, which means truma with 101. Remember that with other types of isurim, usually it's 60. Batel b'shishim. Here it's be'echad me'ah by truma. Truma, it's 101. Okay? So Amar Rava comes and he says, you're going to take out a tinok chai. Tinok chai is a live child, and he has a kis. He's got a pocket with him with money on his tzavar. You're going to be chayav because of the kis. Tinok met v'kis talui b'tzavaro patur. But if you take out a child that's deceased and he's got a kis in his pocket, right on his neck, he's going to be patur from everything. Right? Why? Because we're going to explain. This is 1 second. If you're taking out a live child, you're going to be chayav because of the keys, the pocket. It's like a wallet. What about the child? You should be chayav because you're carrying a child in a Reshut Rabim. So answers the Gemara, Rava Rabinatan Svilei Yozek Rabinatan. The Amar that he says that a live person he carries himself. I mean, if he's alive, it's not considered you're actually carrying him. Right? It's not a doraita because he's carrying himself. So says the Gemara, so fine. So the keys should be batel to the child. Batel keys betinok. Milo tran didn't we learn in the Chayban Mitah Batura Mitah Shemitat Filolo that if you take somebody alive on a bed, you take him in Reshut Rabim, you're going to be patur even on the bed. You're going to be patur on the person because Chayno said that's small. But even in the bed, you're going to be patur because the bed is tafel to the person. So says the Gemara, Mitah you're right. A bed is batel, but the keys, money pouch, is not going to be batel to a child. So tinok med vekis talui betzavro patur. So we just said if you take out a deceased child and a kis talui betzavro, you're going to be patur. You should be chayav also the child. Says the Gemara, Rava holds like Rabbi Shimon. You're going to be patur because you don't need taking out the child. What are you gaining? So because you don't need it, that's why you're going to be patur. Okay, tonight we learned in a Mishnah. So we said you could take out the child and he's got a stone in his hand. So now the question is, what's going on? Why it's mukse? So why are you going to be patur? What's going on? So they said, he said, no, he misses his father. So since he misses his father so much, and titul mukse is only drabanan, they permitted him to have like a stone, because the stone was like gonna calm him down from the sickness of being sick for his father. So that's why you let him continue carrying this stone. So ask the Gemara, if so, and we're talking about mamash, that it's actually going to be some type of a thing. So he says, Ma'idya Evan, what are we talking about? A stone? Kufmen Bet Amud Aleph. What are we talking about? A stone? Afilu dinar nami. So then even if it's going to be money, right, you should permit it. So Lama Marava, why did Rava say, Lo Sharu Evan, only it's a stone, but dinar is going to be asur. So answers the Gemara, Evan inaflale lo atiyavulete. If it's a stone and it falls down, the father will not pick him up. But the dinar, if it falls, the father will pick it up. It's money. We learned that according to Rava, if you take out a utensil which is mekupal munach on top of his ketifaim and a sandalim and tabaot in his hands, chayav, he's going to be chayav. And if he was wearing it, it's going to be patur. If you're going to take out a person, right, and the kilim on top of him, he's going to have his own sandalim, or she's going to be patur. If he takes it out on himself, he's going to be chayav, like Rava. So it comes out that if you're carrying something, it's ki'ilu, the person himself is carrying it. Okay? So it comes out, that means if the person that you're carrying is carrying it in his hands, you're carrying it yourself. Right? That's what we're saying. But if he's dressed with it, he's not considered carrying the clothing, is only considered carrying the person, whatever, and the Chayno said that's small. Okay, so we stop by the 2 dots in Kuf Mem Bet Amud Aleph.